Buying a property in Noida and along the Yamuna Expressway will now get costlier. The Yamuna Expressway Industrial Development Authority has passed a proposal to hike land allotment rates across residential and commercial segments. My colleague Suyesha Sawant tells us how much this particular increase is going to be. Suyesha, take it away. Tell us more.
That's right. Buying a property in Noida and along Yamuna Expressway will soon become expensive. The authorities that administer Noida and areas along Yamuna Expressway have increased land allotment rates across all categories. The lowest is at 7.8% for industrial plots, and the highest goes up to 33.33% for per square meter for group housing. Greater Noida, however, will see no change as the authority had revised land rates by over 10% in February this year. For Noida, land allotment rates for group housing, residential and institutional properties have gone up by 10.5%, and for the industrial rates have increased by 7.8%. There is no change in the rates for commercial plots in Noida. However, for Yamuna, the areas along Yamuna Expressway, land allotment rates for residential properties have gone up by 12.7%, while that of group housing have gone up by 33.33%. Recreational greens have increased by 13.3%, and allotment rates for industrial and institutional properties remain unchanged in areas along the Yamuna Expressway. This is supposed to start with immediate effect.
Sawant there with the latest on the hike that the Yamuna Expressway is set to see. Thank you so much for bringing us that report. And to get a better perspective on this matter, we are joining me live on the phone line is Gitambar Anand, Managing Director at ATS Infra. Mr. Anand, thank you so much for being with us here. Now, you're someone who's actively building in this particular area. How do you think this will impact residential development?
You see, the problem is that when they increase these rates arbitrarily, then the finished product also, the circle rate of the finished product also, by default, they have to increase. So what happens then is that the real price of maybe an apartment or a shop or whatever is actually much less than the circle rate. That being said, they do this to accrue more revenue by stamp duty. But there is an income tax law under Section 43CA, which actually says that if in case there is a difference in the sale price of a built-up unit or land compared to the circle rate. Now, we all know that the market is not very buoyant right now and prices are not exponentially high and they are moderately, stable and low. So when such a situation arises where the circle rate is higher than the actual price of the property, then the buyer and the seller are actually slapped with a 33% income tax burden on a notional profit. Now, this, we had from CREDAI, we had taken this to the Finance Ministry. The Finance Ministry said we have our reasons to keep 43CA intact. So you go back to your states and tell them not to increase circle rates arbitrarily. Let them be, in sync with the actual market price. So this is not good news for the buyer or the seller.
All right.
And we will, because 43CA triggers in for finished property and for land sale. So therefore, we will have to go back to the government and request them to rationalize these prices. Because, they, in Diwali, they decreased the circle rates by 25% day before yesterday because they understood the actual ground reality. And in other areas in Faridabad, they've decreased it. In Noida also, they have rationalized the commercial circle rates, which are very high. So we will appeal to government again to rationalize these prices also.
Gitambar Anand of ATS Infra, thank you so much for joining us live here on the news on Magic Bricks Now and sharing your perspective with us.